Hi, I'm Sharon Mackless at IDG, here with episode 65 of Do More with R. Never have to look up how TidyR's pivot wider and pivot longer functions work again. A lot of Tidyverse users turn to the TidyR package for reshaping data, but I've seen people say they can't remember exactly how its pivot wider and pivot longer functions work. Luckily, there's an easy answer: RStudio code snippets. Write a snippet once, and what's basically a fill-in-the-blank form will always be at your fingertips. Let's take a look. I'll start with going from wide to long. To go from wide to long, or wide to tidy, you'd use the pivot longer function. First argument is your data frame, then you need to set up other arguments. The most important ones are cols, the names of the columns you want to pivot longer, names two, the name you want for the single new category column, and values two, the name you want for the single new value column. Cols follows the Tidyverse convention of not putting existing column names in quotation marks. The names of the new columns are quoted character strings, though. That's because they're not existing column variables. Will you remember all that? Great. If not, that's what code snippets are for. Let me demo my snippet in action. Load the Tibble package and the TidyR package, and I'll use the old mtcars data frame. It doesn't have a category column, so I'll use the Tibble package's handy row names to column function and add a new column called model from the row names. And we can see what that looks like. If I want this data in tidy or long format, all the columns starting from MPG to the last one should be moved into just two new columns, one for category and another for value. To create that mtcars long data frame, I want to pivot longer. I created a snippet I call plonger. If I start typing plonger, my snippet's name appears as a choice and I can easily select and use it. Let's do that. I'm going to start typing plonger. Shows up. I'm going to click on that. And I've got explainer code here. And it's also fill in the blanks. My cursor is on the first fill-in part, so I type in the name of the data frame, mtcars, and hit the Tab key. Next, I select all the columns I want to pivot. And fortunately, I can use dplyr select syntax instead of naming every column. So I can type first column name, colon, last column name, if the ones I'm selecting are consecutive. So let's do that. MPG, colon, carb, and tab. The next two are easy, the names I want for my new columns. So I'm going to type category here and value here. The quotation marks are already there in my snippet. I didn't have to remember them. Now I'll run this code and see what happens. Voila, tidy data. This is the snippet code. The Use This package's Edit RStudio Snippets function opens your snippet file for editing. All the snippet code is in the InfoWorld article associated with this video. If you're viewing on YouTube, the link is in the description below the video. If you've never used RStudio Snippets before, check out my tutorial, also linked to below the video on the YouTube description. Next up, long to wide and the pivot wider function. Here are some of the pivot wider's most important arguments. As you'd expect with a tidyverse function, you start with the data frame. ID cols is optional, a vector of all the columns you don't want to pivot. If you don't define that, pivot wider just assumes that it's everything you didn't otherwise mention. Names from are the columns that you want to go from long to wide. Each value in the pivoted column turns into its own column. Like in the original wide mtcars data, each category like MPG and carb was its own column. Values from are the columns that contain data which also need to pivot wide. In the empty cars long example, there's only one category column and one value column, but there could be more. Name sep is optional. If you end up with compound column names, it's what you want as the character separating the two strings in the column names. This should all make a lot more sense when you see the code. So let's go back to RStudio. I'm using the US rent income long data set to demonstrate having more than one value column. Let's see what that looks like. It has data by US state, state ID, and state name for estimated median annual income, estimated median monthly rent, plus estimated margin of error for each. If I want a more human readable and sortable version, I'd want income and rent to each have their own columns. And it would be helpful to have both the values and the margin of errors for each as columns. So income, income margin of error, rent, and rent margin of error. Let's use my second snippet, pwider. Start typing pwider. It pops up. I'll select it. And once again, sample code with fill in the blanks appears. I'll type US rent income for the data frame, US rent income. Skip the optional ID columns. Use variable as my category column, and a vector with both estimate and MOE as my value columns. So let's do that. We've got estimate, MOE. And now let's run the code and take a look at the results. And there's a wide data frame with columns for estimated income, estimated rent, income margin of error, and rent margin of error. Once again, you can see the snippet code in the related InfoWorld article if you don't feel like pausing the video and copying the code manually. To recap, use this as Edit RStudio Snippets function open to your snippet file. To use a snippet, you start typing the snippet name, select it, and then hit tabs if the snippet includes fill in the form type variables. And there's the code for both snippets. Note that all the lines under the snippet names must start with a tab. That's it for this episode. Thanks for watching. For more R tips, head to the Do More with R page at bit.ly/DoMoreWithR, all lowercase except for the R. You can also find the Do More with R playlist on YouTube's IDG Tech Talk channel, where you can subscribe so you never miss an episode. Hope to see you next time. Stay healthy and safe, everyone.